Hey guys, in today's video I'll be teaching you how to crochet a mango. So I did write my pattern for this mango about a year ago in 2020, but I finally have time to film it. So the one that I originally made was for my sister-in-law. She actually wanted one so she can hang in her car, so I did attach yarn to the top so she can hang it. I didn't attach it to this one, but if you wanted you can also make this a keychain. And when she first requested this, I was kind of surprised because I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I can make a mango. I don't know how I can make it actually look like one because I felt like it would be a little bit hard to make the curves. But I wish I had saved my original piece that I made because you guys know I usually like to show you all of my trial pieces. But since that was a year ago, I kind of threw those stuff. Well, I didn't throw it away, but I used it as stuffing. So yeah, I don't have those to show you, but this is the outcome and I think it looks really cute. So if you're interested in making one of these, I'll let you know what you'll need in the next couple of clips. Today I'll be using a 3.5mm crochet hook. I have used a 4mm. It's just going to make it a little bit bigger. So technically you can use whatever size you want. It's just going to change the size of your mango. You will also need a stitch marker, scissors, a threading needle for yarn, stuffing or fiber felt. And for my yarn, I will be using the Big Twist Value yarn. This one is in the color Varsity Gold, but if you like you can make a green mango or you can do some color changing if you want. I'm just going to make mine simple and do just this plain Varsity Gold color. I'll also be using some green yarn. I don't remember the name of this color, but this is also the Big Twist Value yarn. I'll also need some brown for the stem. You don't need too much. I don't remember the name of this one either, but this is also the Big Twist Value yarn. Okay, so we're first going to start off with our green yarn because we want to create the leaf. Now in this video I do say when I get to the yellow part, I'm going to say we're starting off with that first. It's because I accidentally filmed that first. But anyways, let's start with our green yarn and we're going to create a chain. So for the chain we have to make a slip knot. So what we're going to do first is take our yarn and hold it in half like this. So I just have it here, holds it in half, and then I'll just grab onto each of the pieces and then I'll twist it. So now that I have a loop on this hand, I'm just going to go through and grab this yarn and pull it through. Then with this loop, I'll just take my crochet hook, insert it in, and pull down. Now we're going to chain 7. So for a chain, you just have to yarn over your hook and pull through. So that was a chain of 1. So again, you have to yarn over, pull through. This is 2. Again, yarn over, pull through. This is 3. Now I'm going to go a little bit faster. This is 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so after our chain of 7, let's slip stitch back into the chain. So you're not going to go into this stitch right here, the one that's like really close to the hook. You're actually going into the second one. So this one right here. You just want to push your hook through. You're going to grab this yarn and pull it through that chain, and then also the stitch on the hook as well. Or the loop on the hook as well. So just pulling straight through. Okay, so that was a slip stitch. Now after you do your slip stitch, we want to single crochet into the next chain. So this is our next chain right here. Let's just go in, push your hook through, grab that yarn, pull it through. There's 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through both. So that was a single crochet. Now we're going to half double into the next 2 chains. So half double crochet is yarning over your hook. Let's go into our next chain, push your hook through, grab this yarn, pull it through. You currently have 3 loops on your hook. If you heard noise in the background, that's my dog opening the door. But anyways, so we have our 3 loops on the hook. Let's yarn over and pull through all 3. That was a half double crochet. Okay, so now we have to do that one more time, but into the next chain. So let's yarn over our hook. We're going to go into the next chain, push your hook through, grab this yarn and pull it through. We have our 3 loops on our hook. Let's yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. This is what it currently looks like. So you can see it's starting to expand more at the bottom. So now into our last 2, we're going to do a double crochet. So to do a double crochet, let's yarn over our hook, go into the next chain, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook, but this time let's yarn over and pull through the first 2. Now you have 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay, so we're going to do that one more time, but into this last chain right here. So let's yarn over our hook, push your hook through that last chain, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook. Let's yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay, so now let's chain 1, and you're basically going to be repeating those steps but backwards on this side. So after you chain 1, let's kind of turn to go to this side, because you see how we have this straight line right here. We want it to make it look like our leaf, so we have to go into that last stitch or that last chain on this side, and we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over your hook, go into that chain on the other side, grab this yarn and pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook. Let's yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. That was a double crochet. Now let's double crochet again, but into the next chain over. So that one right there. Let's yarn over our hook, go into that chain, grab this yarn, pull it through. There's our 3 loops on the hook. We're yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So now to repeat it on this side, remember we're going backwards, so we have to do our half double crochets into the next 2. So let's yarn over, go into our next chain, grab this yarn, pull it through. We have our 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 this time because this is a half double crochet. Okay, so we have to do that one more time, but into the following chain. So let's yarn over, go into the next chain, grab this yarn, pull it through. There's our 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So next, into the next chain, we have to do a single crochet. So let's just go into this chain here, pull this yarn through. Oops. There we go. Now we have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. Okay, so the next thing we have to do, or the last thing we have to do, is our slip stitch. So you can just go into your next chain, grab this yarn, pull it through, and just pull it straight through this time. Okay, this time when we cut this off, well, this time, after this, I mean, we just have to cut our yarn, but make sure you have some excess because we need to weave this piece of the yarn through the bottom so we can tie it to our mango. So let me get my scissors, cutting it off. I'm leaving a little bit of an excess, and then I'm just going to pull this straight out, and let me get my threading needle. Okay, so let's take our yarn and insert it through our needle. And then what I like to do is when I get to the top here, you can see the stitch on this side. So this is where yarn is currently at, where we pulled it out. I'm just going to go into the next stitch and just put my yarn or my needle straight through to pull my yarn. And this is what it looks like. Now I actually want to bring this yarn all the way back down over here because I want to attach it later to the mango. So what I'm going to do first is just insert my needle through the top of this middle of the leaf. So I'm just going to push it through and out to the front. And then now that I'm at the front, I'm just going to go back down. So I'm just basically going down this line right here. So I'm going to take my needle back into this next opening, push it through the back. And now that I'm at the back, I'm just going to keep going down until I get all the way to the bottom. So you can see this middle portion right here, just going to stick the needle through all the way until I get to the bottom. So now that I'm at the bottom, I'm just going to put it into one of these bottom stitches. I think I'm going to go into this one, just pushing my needle through the stitch. And here I am now at the bottom. So later on I can attach this to the mango. So now let's work on the stem. Okay, so for the stem, let's take our brown yarn. We're starting it off the same way with a slip knot. So let's take our yarn, and I like to hold it in half like this once again. And then I'm just grabbing onto each piece and twisting it. Then with this hand where the loop is, I'm just going to go in and grab this yarn and pull it through. Then I'll take my crochet hook and insert it through the loop and pull on these pieces to close it up. So for the stem, you can chain either 5 or 6, just depends how long you want it. I think I'm going to go with 5 today. So in case you forgot what a chain is, let's yarn over our hook and pull through. So that was 1, yarn over, pull through for 2. So again, just yarn over, pull through. This is my 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Actually, I changed my mind. I want to do 6. I'm going to yarn over, pull through for my last one. So now all you have to do is single crochet back down into your chain. So remember, when we go back down, you don't want to go into this chain that's closest to the hook. You want to go into the second one here. So let's go into that one for a single crochet. A single crochet is pushing through your chain, grabbing this yarn and pulling it through. There's our 2 loops on the hook. You want to yarn over and pull through both. So I'll show that one more time. So going into this next chain, pushing it through, grabbing my yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over and pulling through both. So that was my second, third. This is the 4th one. And the 5th. So just pushing my hook through that last one, grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through both. Now, because you went through your second chain, you should only have 5 now. So after this, let's just take our scissors and cut off some of the yarn. It doesn't need to be too long, just enough so you can tie it later to your mango. Okay, so now that you have this loop right here, you can just take this yarn and push it through your loop. And just pull it like that, and it just helps secure it a bit more. So now we have our leaf and our stem, so we can now work on the mango. So the first thing we're going to do is start with our yellow yarn, and round 1 we need to start off with a magic circle. So first, let's take our yarn. I like to hold it down against my fingers with my thumb, and then I'll take the yarn and wrap it around 3 fingers. But once I get back up, I'm going to create an X. So there's my X, and then I'm going to bring my yarn back down, and I'll just take my pinky and hold on to the yarn. Then I'll take my crochet hook, then I'll insert it into the X, and then I'm going to grab that front part of the X, so this one here, and then I'll just pull through, and then I'm going to twist up, and now I have a loop on my hook. Next, what we're going to do is take our crochet hook, and we're going to grab this yarn and pull it through. So I'm just going to go under here, grab that yarn and pull it through. Then I'll just let go so you can see the circle. And now I'm just going to tighten everything up. And here is our magic circle. Next, we're going to single crochet 6 times into our magic circle. If you want to make the circle a little bit smaller, you can pull on this yarn. And we're just tightening it up a bit. When you're single crocheting, you're going around the circle and this yarn piece as well. So first, if you don't know how to do a single crochet, what we're going to do is go inside our circle, grab this yarn and pull it through. We have 2 loops on our hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through both loops. So that was a single crochet. So I need to do that 5 more times. So let's go into our circle, grab this yarn, pulling it through. We have our 1, 2 loops on the hook. We're yarning over, pulling through both. So that was 2. Let's go again and go into the circle, grab that yarn, pull it through. We have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both. So we currently have 3 single crochets. Let's do 4 and 5. So once you do your 5th one, what I like to do is take this yarn and pull on it so we can just close up this circle. And then we're going to do our last single crochet. So you can see the circle is much smaller now. And I feel like it's just easier for me when I do this because it kind of will help curve naturally. So let's do our last single crochet into the circle. So going right in, grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. Oops, snagged there. Let's go back in, grab that yarn. There's our 2 loops on the hook, yarning over and pulling through both. So that was 6 single crochets for round 1. And then you can take your stitch marker and place it into the last stitch. Round 2, we're going to increase into each one of the stitches. So an increase is, let's go into our first stitch and do our single crochet first. So I just insert my hook through, I'm grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. There's our 2 loops on the hook, I'm going to yarn over, pull through both. So that was 1 single crochet. An increase is doing another single crochet into that same stitch. So taking my crochet hook, going into the same stitch, grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops on the hook, I'm yarning over, pulling through both loops. So that was an increase into the first stitch. Now you're just going to repeat that all the way through until you get 12 stitches total, but I will demonstrate once more. So going into my next stitch, I'm going to insert my hook through, grabbing this yarn. There's my 2 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through both. Then I have to do that one more time into the same stitch. So taking my crochet hook, inserting it into the same stitch, grabbing that yarn, pulling it through. There's my 2 loops. I'm yarning over and then pulling through both. So now I'm just going to repeat that all the way through until I get my 12 stitches total in round 2. So remember, just increase into each one of these stitches. So for round 3, what we're going to do is single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So this is 1, 2, 3. You just want to do 1 single crochet into each of those. So just insert your hook through, pull that yarn through. We have 2 loops, yarning over, pulling through both. So I just did 1. Now I'm going into my next stitch to do 1 more single crochet. And then going into the 3rd stitch for 1 single crochet. Now we're going to increase into the next 2 stitches. So this is 1, 2. You just want to do an increase into both. So I'm going to go into this next stitch. That was 1 single crochet, and I'm doing another single crochet into that same stitch. Okay, so now into the next stitch, you're doing the same thing, an increase. So that was 1 and 2 into the same stitch. Next, you're going to follow that by single crocheting into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So in those 5 stitches, you just want to do 1 single crochet. So I just did 1, going into my next stitch. That was my 2nd stitch. Going into my 3rd stitch for 1 single crochet, going into the 4th one, and the 5th. After you do that, you should have 2 stitches left, so this one plus the stitch marker. And into these 2, you want to do an increase into both. So let's go into this second to last one to do 1 single crochet, and then another one because we have to make that an increasing stitch. So then let's remove our stitch marker and increase into that last stitch. So that was 1 and 2 into that last stitch. So let's take our stitch marker and place it into that last one. And you should now have 16 stitches in total in round 3. Okay, so now moving on to round 4. Let's first start off by single crocheting into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So we're single crocheting into those 5. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to increase into the next 1, 2, 3 stitches. So going into my next stitch, let's start off with an increase. So that was 1, and I'm doing another single crochet into that same stitch because it is an increase. So now going into my next stitch, I'll do another increase. That was 1, 2, and then going into my 3rd one for another increase. So that's 1 and 2. So we just did 3 increases. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So let's go ahead and do our single crochets. Remember, you should do 5. So that's 1, going into the next stitch, 2, and then the next stitch after that is my 3rd, and the stitch after that is 4, and then my 5th one. So we just did 1 single crochet into each of those. You should now have 3 stitches left into these 2 right here. We're going to be doing an increase into both. So let's go into this next one and do an increase. That was 1 and 2. Then you're going to your second to last one to do another increase. That's 1 and 2. Oops, let me fix this. Okay, now 2. Then I'll remove my stitch marker and do 1 single crochet. And then I can take my stitch marker and place it back into the stitch. And now we have 21 stitches in total for round 4. For round 5, I kind of started already, but for round 5, all you're doing is single crocheting into each one of these stitches. So because we know what a single crochet is by now, I'm just going to do this part off camera, but because you aren't changing anything, you should still end up with 21 stitches in total in round 5. Remember, just one single crochet into each one of the stitches. For round 6, let's start off by single crocheting into the next 7 stitches. So let's go into the first one. That's 1, going into the next stitch, 2, the next one is 3, next one is 4, this is 5, this one is 6, and then this one is 7. So we just single crocheted into the next 7 stitches. Now we're going to increase into the next 2 stitches. So let's go into the next stitch for an increase. Let's go in, that's 1 single crochet, and I'm doing another one into the same stitch. And then I have to repeat that one more time into the following stitch. So this one here, I'm doing an increase. So that was 1 and 2. Next, we're going to single crochet into the next 9 stitches. So just 1 single crochet into 9 stitches. So this is 1, 2, this one is the 3rd, this one here is the 4th, this one is 5, here's 6, 7, 8, and 9. Then you should be left with 3 stitches, so these last 3 here. To end this off, we're going to increase into the next stitch. So this one here, I'm going to do an increase. So that was 1 and 2. Now into the last 2 stitches, we're just going to do 1 single crochet. So here is 1 single crochet, removing my stitch marker, doing my last single crochet. And now in round 6, you should have 24 stitches in total. Alright, so we're done with the increases for now. So next we're going to do single crochet rows. We're just doing it for 2 rows. So for rows, or round, I keep saying, every time I have to say row, I'll say round. And then when I say rounds, I'll say row. I don't know why I do that. But anyways, for rounds 7 and 8, let's just single crochet those 2 rows, or rounds. And then you should end up with 24 stitches in total in each of those because we're not changing anything. So let's just go ahead and do our single crochet rounds, and then I'll be right back. Now because these are just single crochets, I won't show this on camera, but I will be back after rounds 7 and 8. So remember, just single crochet both of those rounds. Alright guys, so after you finish rounds 7 and 8, this is what it should look like. So it's kind of starting to take shape of the top part of our mango. So what we can do now is attach our, before we keep going, let's attach our leaf and our stem. I like to do this now because you can tie it easier. So let's take our threading needle and take our green leaf. Let's take our yarn and just put it through the needle. And then what we can do here is just insert it to the top. So first, just shape your mango into, like don't make it, well actually you can put it however you want for the leaf, but I kind of like to fold mine in half like this. And then I determine how I want it to sit. Okay, I think I want it like right at the top, like right here where the magic circle is. So I'm just going to take my needle and push it through. So I'm not going to insert it straight into the magic circle. I'm actually going to go into the stitch around it. So I'm just going to push through to go into the inside. And then I'll just take my yarn and just pull it straight out. And then with the other piece of the yarn, I'm going to do the same thing. So just going to take my needle and insert it through. And then I'm going to insert it straight across. Sorry, I'm like thinking while I'm doing this, but yeah, so you see how this one is right here. I'm going to insert it straight across on this side. Okay, can you see that? Okay, and then I'll just push it through and just see how it looks. Okay, yeah, so I like that. So then on the inside, I'm just going to tie the 2 pieces together Yeah, I'm gonna tie one knot just so it doesn't move. Just tie one knot here. Okay, so you can see how it's kind of lifted still. Remember how I said the green piece should be left a little bit longer? You still have this yarn you can work with. So I'm going to take my needle, push the yarn through, and then I'm gonna go back in. So I'm gonna go inside here and push it out through the front. So I'm going to go straight into where that magic circle is, the opening of it, push my yarn through. And then from the bottom stitch of the leaf, I'm just going to push it through one of the stitches that I find will look best. I'm going to go into this guy right here. I'm going to push down, pull it through, and then I'm going to go right back into the mango. But I'm going to go into this one right here. You know where I originally attached this green yarn? Pull that through. Okay, so now that you did that, if you feel like you want to keep repeating it to make it a little like stand straight a little bit more, you can just go back into the mango again, out through the top of the middle piece, or the middle opening of the magic circle. You don't have to do this again, but if you wanted to, you can take it now to this stitch. So I'm doing the one right across from the original one I did. And then push it right back in. And this time I'm gonna go, you can go back into the magic circle side if you want, or you can go into this stitch. It just depends like how you want it to sit. So I'm gonna go into this one. Okay, and so that is how the leaf looks. And then I'll probably attach the brown right there. But once you bring the yarn back in, you can flip it inside out, or inside out? Is that it? Or outside? Yeah, inside out. Okay, so anyways, now let's just tie a knot. So I just did 1 and 2. So for the yarn, I'm just going to leave it as stuffing because I don't want to waste any yarn by just cutting it off. So anyways, this is how the leaf looks. Now let's attach the brown. Okay, so for the brown, it's literally the same thing. So I just have my yarn already through the needle, and I'm just going to attach it right at the front near the end part of this leaf. So I'm just going to push it through this stitch. I'm taking one side first. And then with the next piece of yarn, I'm going to do the same thing. But I'm not going to insert it into the same stitch. I'm actually going to go through the magic circle or the opening of it. So I'm just going to push through that middle. And for this one, I'm only going to tie, I'm only going to insert it once. So now that I have it in the middle, I'm going to flip it inside out again, and then just tie the 2 brown pieces together. I feel like this one, it's secure enough just doing it one time. So I'm not going to go back out. And this is what it looks like. So now let's get back to working on the rest of the mango. Okay, so now we're going back to our mango. We're going to be working on round 9. So for round 9, let's first start off by single crocheting into the next 8 stitches. So here's 1, oops, this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now that we single crocheted into the next these 8 stitches right here, what we're going to do is a decrease. We're going to be doing an invisible decrease. So how to do that is we're going to go into the front loop only of these next 2 stitches. So let's take our crochet hook, insert it into the front loop of this next stitch. So I'm just going to push in through the middle, and then you're going to do the same thing to the next stitch after. So just take your hook, bend it down just a bit, go into the next stitch, push it through the middle to get into the front loop only. There we have our 3 stitches on our hook. I know it's a little bit hard because it's kind of a smaller piece, but now you're just going to yarn over and then pull through those first 2 stitches. So that's 1, 2. Then I have my 2 loops left on the hook, so I'm going to yarn over, pull through the last 2. That was an invisible decrease. Now we're going to follow that by single crocheting into the next 10 stitches. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Into our next stitch, you want to do an increase. So this one right here, let's just do 1 single crochet and another one into the same stitch because this is an increase. Now all we have to do is single crochet into our last 3 stitches. And then once you finish that, you should have 24 stitches in total in round 9. Okay guys, so let's move on to round 10. For round 10, this is a simple round because all we have to do is single crochets. So I will finish this one off camera because we already know how to single crochet. But because you aren't changing anything, you should still end up with 24 stitches in total in round 10. Okay, so I'm now back for round 11, and we're going to start off by single crocheting into the next 21 stitches. Now, because this is going to take me a while to crochet, I'll finish this off camera, but I'll come back after I finish doing my single crochets of 21. So remember, just single crochet until you get to your 21st stitch, and then I'll tell you what to do next. Okay, so after single crocheting into 21 stitches, you should have 3 stitches left. So 1, 2, and then where your stitch marker is. So now we're going to decrease and then single crochet. But for our decrease, we're doing the same one, the invisible one. So let's go into our next 2 stitches and go into the front loop only. So take your hook and push it through the middle. And then you want to do the same thing to the next stitch. So just bend your hook down, go into that stitch, right into the middle of it. And now you have 3 loops on your hook. You want to yarn over and then pull through the first 2 stitches, or 2 loops I mean, and then you have 2 loops left, yarn over and then pull through the last 2. And then you'll just remove your stitch marker to do your last single crochet, and then you should have 23 stitches in total for round 11. So for round 12, we're now going to start off by single crocheting into the next 8 stitches. So just 1 single crochet into the 8 stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we're going to do our invisible decrease. So right at these 2 stitches here, let's take our crochet hook, insert it into the front loop only. Let's bend our hook down and do the same thing to the next stitch. We have our 3 loops on the hook. Let's yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Then after you do your invisible decrease, all you have to do is just single crochet the rest of the way. So that's 13 single crochets you would be doing. And after this, you should have a total of 22 stitches in round 12. Let's just take a moment to see what it looks like. So here is how my mango is currently looking. Now let's move on to round 13. So for round 13, we're going to start off by single crocheting, and we're going to be single crocheting into the next 19 stitches. So because again, this will take me a while, I will finish this off camera, but just single crochet 19 stitches, and then I'll be back so I can show you the decrease once more. So again, single crochet 19, and then I'll be right back. So after you single crochet 19, you should have 3 stitches left. So we have our 3 here, there's our 2, and then at the stitch marker. Now what we have to do is another decrease. So let's go into the front loop only. Let's go into this one here and push through the front, bend your hook down, do the same thing to the following stitch, just go in and push through the middle. We have our 3 loops on the hook. You want to yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and then you'll just take your stitch marker out to do your last single crochet. And then now you should have 21 stitches in total in round 13. Also, if you would like to add some stuffing now, you can do that, but if you watch a lot of my videos, you know that I always wait until like the last possible minute. But again, you can go ahead and add some stuffing if you want. Okay, so now let's move on to round 14. And to start off, let's single crochet into the next 9 stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops. I did 8 and 9 off camera, but after you single crochet into the next 9 stitches, let's decrease into the next 2. With these 2 stitches here, let's just go in, push through, do the same thing to the following stitch. We have our 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2. I have 2 loops left on the hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 8 stitches. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And after that, you should have 2 stitches left. And then you just want to remove your stitch marker because we're going to end off with a decrease. So let's just go into the front loop of those 2 stitches. Bending my hook down, doing the same thing to the following stitch. There's my 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now you're done with round 14 and you should have a total of 19 stitches. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and stuff my mango now. So when I stuff my mango, I don't put in too much because I kind of want it to lay down flat, you know, like normal mangoes. So again, I don't put in too much stuffing, but if you want to add more, you can go ahead and do that. But now let's move on to round 15. Well, not all mangoes like are flat on the side, but you know what I mean. But you can add more stuffing maybe like to the back side to make it pop out a little bit more. But again, this is just how mine looks. So let's go into round 15 and we're going to start off by kind of the same way. We're just going to single crochet 9 first. So let's go ahead and single crochet into the next 9 stitches. And because I don't want this video to be like too long, I'm going to speed this part up, or actually I'll just skip ahead. Okay, so after single crocheting into 9 stitches, I'm now going to increase into the next stitch. So this one here, I'm just going to go in for, that was 1 single crochet, and I'm doing another one into the same stitch. This is an increase. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 7 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm going to skip ahead. So after you single crocheted your 7, you can now remove your stitch marker. We have our 2 stitches left. Just remove that and we're going to do a decrease. So let's just go into the front loop of this stitch, bend your hook down, do the same thing to the following, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And in round 15, you should still have 19 stitches because we only decreased once, but we also increased into a stitch. So 19 stitches in total in round 15. For round 16, we're going to start off with a decrease this time. So let's go into these 2 stitches and insert your hook through the front loop of that stitch, bend your hook down, do the same thing to the following. Then you'll yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now that we did our 7, let's increase into the next stitch. So here's my next stitch right here. I'm doing 1 single crochet and I'll do another one into the same stitch. And then I'm going to follow that by single crocheting into the next 7 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to speed this part up, or actually I'm just going to skip ahead again. After you single crochet 7, you should have 2 stitches left. So let's remove our stitch marker. And then we're going to do our last decrease. So going into these 2 stitches, insert your hook through the middle, bend your hook down, do the same thing to the following stitch. If I can get through. There we go. And then yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then in round 16, you should now have a total of 18 stitches. And now we can move on to round 17. Before we get to round 17, let's just take a quick look at the mango. This is what it looks like. It's starting to curve up back this way. And now let's get back to round 17. So we're going to start off with a decrease first. So going into these 2 stitches here, let's go into the front loop only. That was the first one, doing the same thing to the following stitch. We have our 3 loops on the hook, we're yarning over, pulling through the first 2, 2 loops left, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now we're going to single crochet into the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to decrease. So let's go into these 2 stitches right here. Go into the front loop only, that first one, then bending your hook down, doing the same thing to the next. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And then now you're going to single crochet into the next stitch. So this one right here, just do 1 single crochet. And then into these 2 stitches, we're going to do a decrease. So we're just going into the front loop only of that stitch, bending your hook down, do the same thing to the next stitch, yarning over, pulling through first 2 stitches, loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. And then after that decrease, you want to single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So that's 1, 2, and 3. After this one, you should have 2 stitches left. So here's 1, and then my stitch marker, so I'll remove that, and I'm going to do my last decrease. So I'm just going to go in to the front loop, yarn over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops, and then you can just place your stitch marker back on. And then after this, I'm actually going to stuff it a little bit more because you can see it's starting to close up just a bit. Okay, so in round 17, you should have ended up with 14 stitches. So now let's go on to round 18, where we're going to start off with a decrease first. Okay, so let's go into the front loop of those 2 stitches. Now that you have your 3 loops, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And it's going to be a little bit harder because, as you can see, it's starting to close up a lot and this piece is small. So now let's single crochet into the next 3 stitches. So this is 1, 2, and 3. Next, we're going to decrease 4 times. So let's go into this stitch, going into the front loop only. Same thing to the following. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So that was 1. This is my second. Going in for the 3rd decrease. And when you do a total of 4 decreases, you should end up with 1 single crochet left to do, and that's the one at the stitch marker. So I just finished my 3rd, and then this one is my 4th. Again, I know, tight spaces here. Remove your stitch marker to do your last single crochet. And then you are now done with round 18, and we just have 1 round left to do before we close this up. Okay, so in round 18, you should have 9 stitches left. We don't need our stitch marker anymore because round 19 is our last round. And for this round, I'm just going to do 2 decreases. So I'm actually just going to hold on to the mango instead of like putting my finger inside here because it's just really tight in there. So I'm just going to go in for a decrease. Now, because I'm not holding it in the middle, it's going to be a little bit harder, but there we go. So we have our 3 loops on the hook. I'm yarning over, pulling through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So I just did 1, and I'm just going to do 1 more. So just go into the front loop only, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And then you can see there's still an opening here, but what we're going to do is actually take our scissors now and then cut off some of this yarn. Then you just want to pull your yarn all the way through. You still have this excess piece, so what we're going to do is take our threading needle, and I changed my mind. I actually want to use my crochet hook instead. I don't know why I just want to do this. So let's just take our crochet hook, and you see where we just pulled our yarn straight out. You're going to take your hook and push it through the next stitch, that following stitch, and grab this yarn and pull it through, and just pull it straight through. And then you just want to keep doing that until you get all the way back to the beginning. So going into the next stitch, taking my crochet hook, pushing it through, grabbing this yarn, pulling it through. Again, repeating that to the next stitch, all the way until I get back so we can pull this yarn, and then it'll help close it up. So I'm going into this next stitch again, just grabbing the yarn, pulling it through. And then I think I need to do one more. Let me do one more. And then we can just pull on this, and there it closes up nicely. Now I'm going to take my threading needle and just take my yarn, put it through. And then what I'm going to do is find a stitch that's kind of close by. So I'll go into this one right here, and I'm going to push my needle through, but I'm not going to pull this yarn all the way through. So I'm going to hold on to a piece here and just pull it through this part. And I have this loop still. So what I'll do is take my threading needle and put it through this loop. And then that is a little knot. I'm only going to do it once, but if you want to do it a couple more times, you can go ahead and do that. And now all you have to do is stuff your yarn back in. So I'm just going to take my needle and just push it through any stitch. I'm just going to pull it straight out. And then on this side, I'm going to take my scissors. Actually, this is just too big. I don't have my other scissors with me, but I'm just going to take the back of this needle and just push the yarn back in. And then we are done with the mango. So let me just go ahead and stuff this off camera, and then I'll be right back. All right, guys, so that is our mango. And if you wanted, you can add a key ring. I think I'm going to add a yarn string right here to this one, so I can show you how it will look if I did attach it to my car, because I don't have a picture of the one that my sister-in-law has. So if you wanted to add yarn, let's go ahead, and I'm going to use yellow. You can use whatever color you want. You can just make a long piece, or I'm sorry, you can take a long piece, and then I'm going to fold it in. Oh, dog hair. So yeah, just take a long piece and cut off. Well, it doesn't have to be too long, depending on how you wanted to hang it in your car. And I know that some places it's illegal to have like stuff hanging on the mirrors, so if you can't have it on there, don't have it on there. I don't think they really stop you though, but I know that we're not allowed to have it here, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. But you know, I see a lot of people still have stuff on there, so I'm like, do they stop anybody for that? But anyways, so just take your yarn and put it through your needle, and I'm just going to insert it in. Should I do it to the back? Yeah, I'll do it to the back side. So I'm just going to go in to where the brown is right here. Actually, do I want it on this guy? Yeah, so I'm going to actually take it to the back of this one and just push it out through another stitch. So I'm literally just going to insert the yarn through one stitch, pull it through. Don't pull all of your yarn, just one side. And then, so this is what it looks like. Okay. And then you can tie a knot if you wanted to, but I don't think I will. Or should I? Yeah, I'll tie a knot. Okay, sorry, I didn't plan to add this part in, so that's why I keep like thinking out loud. But anyway, so now that I have this, I have the yarn, it's lined up on that side. So now I'm just going to tie one knot, and then now I can just tie a little bow and hang it in my car. I'll show you a video at the end. So this is what it will look like if you hang it in your car. And you know what, I never realized, but I had this like for years. So yeah, like no one's ever stopped me for hanging this, but this is the oil thing where like you turn it over and it leaks into the wood, and then it makes the car smell. But this has been like gone for the longest, but I just left it here. But anyways, this is what the mango would look like if you did hang it in your car. I don't think I'm gonna leave it here because the mango is not really my style, but I just wanted to show you what it would look like if you did hang it in your car. So anyways, yeah, that's about it. So this is the end of my mango tutorial. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next one.